Hey everybody, and welcome back to another lesson here at My Bluegrass Romance. Today we're looking at 3 variations on playing 3 octave G scales across the fretboard. I wish I had learned this stuff when I first started playing the mandolin. If you guys are just interested in the exercises, I'll post the timestamp up on the screen. If you haven't been following along with this series on mastering G major across the fretboard, I encourage you to look back at lesson 7 and lesson 8 as they really lead up to what we're playing today. And as always, I invite you over to patreon.com/MyBluegrassRomance, where I've got notation, tablature, fingerings, all sorts of other good stuff to help inspire your mandolin picking. So we've got this G note on the mandolin, right? The first note you maybe ever pluck on the mandolin, this low G. Well, as you learn the G scale, often enough you just sort of learn it down here in first position. Maybe you start playing it up here in second. But the reality is we've got kind of a short instrument, not a lot of runway on this thing, so we want to learn it as much as we can across this whole fretboard. So you've got this low G, and you've also got this high G way up here on the pinky. Don't be intimidated by this thing. It's just sitting right up there. And I think in learning the fretboard, it's good to learn, how to play the scale all the way up to that G. Well, the reality is when I first started picking I thought, well, there's just a sort of like one path to get up to this G note. It's a G scale. It leads up to from G to G. That's the scale. On a piano, that would be sort of the case. In this case, though, is we've got multiple ways to get up there. So today I want to look at 3 different paths that sort of lead from this G up to this G. And I've dubbed one Get High, and what that just is referring to is as we play up the G scale from this low string, once we get up to this G right here, we are just playing the rest of those scales way up high up on the neck. The other one I was talking about, or I will be talking about today, is what I call the Get Low scale. And that is probably the most familiar to you. It's staying low on the neck until we get to this G, at which point we have to start shifting in order to get up here, right? This G is the only that note of its type on this entire fretboard, right, of that pitch, just like this one is. So we have to start in the same place and end in the same place, but how we get there can be different. The third one is what I've dubbed the even Steven, which is sort of this diagonal pattern that repeats itself first on the low 2 strings, then the middle 2 strings, and then the high 2 strings. And again, it gets you up to that same position in a very methodical, even sort of diagonal pattern across the neck. So again, I hope these things can inspire your picking. Let's get into those exercises. The first variation of the 3 octave G scale I've dubbed the Get High scale, because we're going to work our way up the neck again and then stay real high up here until the very end and then back down that same way. And it's going to look like this. So let's look at those shifts. You play that G, A, B, C, and then we're going to shift to our D here with our first finger, D, E, F sharp, G, similar to our previous lessons. And then from there, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F sharp. And when we're at that F sharp, we're going to shift to our first finger, G, and then all the way up. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. On our way back down, it's awfully similar. G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. When we play that G, we're going to shift to our middle finger on the F sharp, E, C, B, And then from there, work your way back down. So that's one way to get from that low G up to that high G. A variation on this one, you may have guessed it, is to use this open D when you do that very first movement. So you'll be like G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. You can replace that D with the open string. So G, A, B, C, D, and then get back on track here with the E, E, F sharp, G, and then continue the scale. And then on your way back down, very similar. You'd work your way back down, play that open D, and that just gives you a slight different shift on working your way up and down with the get high version of the 3-octave G scale. A second version of a 3-octave G scale I've dubbed get low, and that was just referring to, again, staying low on the neck before you are forced on that high E string to start shifting your way up to finish the scale. So it's going to look really similar to the other G scales that you've probably learned on mandolin. So when we get to this G, now we're forced, there's no more strings up here. So we're forced to shift. So I shift from there to that A, B, C, then I shift again to this D, E, F sharp, G. So let me go again. I'll go from this G here just to show you, sort of give you a little runway ahead of time. So you got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, shift, A, B, C, shift, D, E, F sharp, G, and the same on the way back down. We're going to shift right there, shift again, so what I would practice in this particular scale is you've probably already worked on that 2-octave G scale to get up to this G, is to practice just working your way up from there. Shift, shift, and back down. Shift, shift, and practice that a few times. The third variation on a 3-octave G scale to get from G to G is what I've dubbed the even Steven. And I've called it that because if you think about your very basic G scale, sort of the shape that you play that open string, you play a whole step, a half step, another whole step, whole half. And the shape of that, if you look here, you're playing open, skip a fret, go up 1 fret, and then you play the open D, skip a fret, and then just go up 1 fret. Well, that same pattern, if you were to start right here on this G, you can play that here. Imagine this was your open string, this G here. You skip a fret, and then go up to the next fret. And then on the next string, you play the D right there, skip a fret, and there. So it ends up being that same shape with your fingers, but you're playing up here, you're playing it with all 4 fingers. Down here, you're playing it, with your first 3 fingers. You can kind of imagine that shape. Well, that same exact shape starts again right here where my pinky is. Skip a fret, go up 1 fret, and then here, skip a fret. So that same shape is here, and then down here. So our job is to connect those together through shifting in the right places. So I'll go slow. We'll start here. G, A, B, C, D, E, sharp, I'm going to shift to my first finger for the G. Keep going up that scale. And on this F sharp, I'm going to shift again to the G with my first finger. So that's, again, on your way up, it's pretty straightforward. Every time you land on the F sharp with your middle finger, you're shifting to your first finger. And then on this, in this spot, it's on your ring finger. On your way back down, you're going to play that whole scale down to your first finger, and then I'm going to shift to my third finger on the F sharp. And then again, I'm going to shift to the G this time on my third finger. So let me do that one more time from the G up here. I'm going to shift to my ring finger on the F sharp. Now I'm going to shift to the G on my ring finger. I'll play that whole thing one more time just so you can see it. Shift. 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 So you might guess, after you've learned these 3 different variations on how to work your way up to this high G and then back down to the original G, that you can start to combine these things. You could play up with the even Steven and then down with the get low. Or you could play up with the get high and then down with the even Steven. And as you start to do these, and if you're saying those notes out loud, like I always encourage as you play them, you are going to start to really internalize, your entire fretboard. You'll start to be like, oh yeah, I know there's a G there. I know there's a G there. I know there's a G there. And not just from memorizing like, oh, this is, fret number 5, or this is like 15 or 16. See, I don't even know, I guess, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? I don't think about it as numbers all the time. I just know that that's a G because I've played that enough times, right? So there's an octave, right? 2 G's together, 2 G's together, 2 G's together. This G to jump between these two. As you start playing these exercises and doing these different things, you start to make those connections almost from muscle memory, or from, obviously the little dots here for just giving you a little place to, reference off of. But it'll really, really help your playing improve, I think. And so I encourage you to learn these 3 and then start to put them together. Thanks again for checking out another video here at My Bluegrass Romance. I hope some of these mandolin videos will help inspire your mandolin picking. And as always, if you want to reach out, feel free to email me at mybluegrassromance@gmail.com.